Everybody, it's your main man, Anthony Brogdon, coming at you stronger again. Ooh, I got a lady on the channel. You gonna like this one so much, you gonna have to hit the like button. And the only thing is you would hit the love, but there is no such thing. She gonna tell you some stories that's gonna blow your mind. Man, I'm excited that she's on the show. She came highly recommended from one of my ace guys out of that Mount Bayou. If y'all didn't know, oh shucks, I forgot to tell you, I'm Anthony Brogdon. I'm so excited. I'm an ordinary guy trying to do something extraordinary through the people who come on the show. It has been my mission, and if y'all don't know, I'm 4 years running into this strong inspirations. This happened as a fluke, and it is one of the best flukes that have ever happened to me because I'm a better person by strong inspirations, by the people who come on the show, who share these stories. So hit the subscribe button. It's free. Don't ask no information. Hit the like button, as I told you earlier. You got to do that. Hit the notification bell so you get a ding, a shock, a smoke signal, something to let you know there's new content. And tell somebody about strong inspiration. Don't keep it to yourself. I know you're watching me because I get comments often with people who talk about the video and stuff like that, who say, I didn't know that. I was interested. That was good. Good questioning, and so on and so forth. And then, my friends, how about this one? Did you see the one I did with the lady that was the sharecropper? She grew up, said she was in Mississippi, and she lived on a plantation. And she kept saying plantation. I said, man, slavery ended. She said, it wasn't no difference. She said, matter of fact, the white man took a black guy out in the woods and beat him with no reservation. Watch that one. Did you see the one I did with the lady in Canada who, and many people will agree, she's the founder of Blackhistorymonth for the Canada, the whole country. Watch that one. How about the one I did with the guy whose great-great-grandfather was Josiah Henson? And he lives up in Canada also. Well, he lives in Buffalo, but he's right near Canada. The last stop on the Underground Railroad when you reach there. Watch that one. Or the one I did with the son of the NBA, the first black player in the NBA. Watch that one. I got them from all over on this show. And I'm going to keep doing it because it's a labor of love, my friends. And I got this book out. You got to get you a copy of this Black business book. This book is the most thorough, comprehensive, easy to read Black history book on the market. There is no other book with over 200 facts and no commentary. I just let the facts stand on its own merit, where I'm telling you about rich Black people in the 1800s. Get you a copy of that. Do it today. Before the end of the video, just go ahead and click on to my website, businessintheblack.net. And that's where you can order this. And also on the website, you can find out where I'm speaking because I'm on the road now. I done went out my comfort zone and I enjoy it. I get in front of crowds and I'm telling you some of the stories that's in this book and my new book, which will be coming out shortly, titled That's My Land, on the history of Black towns and settlements. Mind-blowing stuff. Now, you hear me use this term strong a lot. Strong is my favorite word. And in my world, strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And that is my introduction to the strong sister on the channel today. Come on, lady, let's get it on. Introduce yourself and all that. Thank you.
I'm ready to introduce myself, okay?
Yes, come on, let's do it.
I'm Gloria Carter Dickerson, and I was born in Mississippi, Sunflower County, in the Mississippi Delta. And my parents were sharecroppers. They had 13 children, and we lived a life of what my mom would call poverty. And my mom was so disillusioned. She was so disillusioned with being in poverty and all her children not having enough to eat and those kinds of things. So she talked about it quite a bit, how she wanted her children to get out of poverty because she had been in poverty, and so had her mom and her mom and her mom, all generations. And we lived on a plantation. I heard you talking about a plantation. We
Wow.
did live
Oh,
on a
you're going fast.
plantation.
You're going fast. You're going fast. You're going fast because I got to stop you on some of this. You got
Okay.
how many brothers and sisters?
12 brothers and sisters. My mom and dad were sharecroppers.
And
Uh,
so that's a big family. I mean, did y'all have a house? How did y'all sleep in a house with 12 brothers? If you don't mind, I ask. Three in a
well,
room, or how does
Well,
that
there
go?
were three. Well, we probably didn't have about three rooms. So three or four in one room. Some people slept on the sofa. Some people slept on a mattress on the sofa. My mom had rollaway beds. If you know what rollaway beds are, you sleep in them at
Yeah.
night, take them up in the daytime, and put them back out. So we had rollaway beds, and things like that. So we just slept anywhere, and it was two and three in the bed. It was never less than three in the bed when we was growing up. That's how we had
Really?
to sleep.
What about um what about the showers in the morning? How y'all do that?
Shower. We didn't have a shower. I didn't have a shower till I got grown. I
Is
was
that
born in 1953, okay? And we was
yeah?
on the plantation to 1965. Now, before we moved to town, once we moved to town, I can tell you why we had to move to town. We bathed in a tub, a tin tub. And mom and dad had to heat the water to pour into tub, and then we got in the tub and took our baths. That's what we did. I don't know if you've seen one of these tubs. It's not very large, but the children and everybody slept in those tubs. I mean, bathed in those tubs. So we
And one
bathed
of
in
them
the tub.
metal tubs.
It was on a metal tubs. Yeah, that's right. And we would get in there and take
So,
our
but you got
baths.
to keep pouring the water in because it gets cold, and you're bathing in dirty water from the person in front of you. Is that the way? How that go?
Well, the first person that get it probably got clean water because dad go to the well and got the water. And he also would use pump water, if you've heard of pump water. And you'd
Yeah.
heat the water and then pour it in there. And that water would last probably for two or three of us. Like one would get out, another would get in, one would get out, another would get in. Then they would replenish the water, and the next two or three would get in. They replenish the water, and the next two or three would get in. So it was a chore just to get a bath when I was growing up until I got to be about 12 years old. And then things did change when I got to be about 12 to 13 years old. But
All right,
you
let me
know.
ask you this then. Okay, this is interesting. I'm a big city man. I don't know nothing about what you're talking about, so I got to
Oh,
stay
you
on this
know?
just a
Okay,
tad.
let me tell
Oh
you some
man, did y'all
stuff.
have lights?
Yeah, I can remember we did have lights. Now we did not have running water, so we had an outhouse. Now you've heard of outhouse?
Yeah,
Outhouse?
yeah.
We had to go to the outhouse. That's what we did because we didn't have any running water in the house. And so we had to go outside to the toilet. That's what we did. But we did have lights. And we had gas when I was coming up. We did have some gas when I was coming up.
You
By the
say
time,
you lived on the plantation. What does that mean?
it means that we lived on land that the white landowner owned. They owned the land, and we was a tenant on the land. But we were sharecroppers because we were supposed to share in the profits. The landowner and the sharecropper were supposedly going to share. But at the end of the year, most of the time, the landowner would come out and say, "Well, you didn't make a profit. We didn't make a profit this year, even though we had worked all day, every day, from Mama say from dusk to dawn until can they can't." And still at the end of the year, you didn't have any money because they would charge us for things like going to the grocery store because you bought all your groceries on credit, and you went to the doctor on credit. So they would keep a list of everything you've done and what it costs. At the end of the year, they say, "Well, you made about $900, but you spent 920 eating and going to the doctor. So you're in debt $20. So you got to work the next year so you can get out of debt." So that went on and on and on until
What was the
because you
crop
never
that
really
y'all
had
was
any money of
picking?
your own.
What was the crop y'all was picking?
We were picking
Farming.
cotton. We were picking cotton. Cotton was king back then, before the cotton pickers came. So I picked cotton, chopped cotton, did all that kind of stuff. My brothers and
Was you
sisters.
good at it?
No, I wasn't too good at it. I wasn't too good at it because I was kind of young. I was like 10 and 11 and 9 and 12, 11, 12 years old. Now, my brothers and sisters, they picked until they got to be 18 and left home. And they would like pick 300 pounds of cotton a day, is what they would say. And I never only picked 100, maybe 100 a pound. But that was like getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, coming in at 6 o'clock in the evening, taking 30 minutes for lunch, and then going back to the fields to pick some more cotton. So I did that. Right.
What's the difference between that and slavery, from your estimation?
Not much different because you never had any money. You had to get everything on credit. You never had any extra money to do anything with. You had to shop at the store where you get your credit at, and go to the doctor where you get your credit at. So it wasn't really that much different. Now, I didn't actually live in slavery, so I
Yeah, yeah,
can't tell you. And I
yeah.
don't think we
Sure,
had the
sure,
beating.
sure.
We weren't beat or anything like that. I didn't see any no beating across the back or anything like that. Except my mama did sometimes. If she found that we didn't try to pick any kind, she may hit us a liquor store and say
She
tomorrow
did the
y'all
lick.
going to pick. Okay. Hmm?
Yeah, she did that though. Yeah,
She did
yeah,
that,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it wasn't brutal. It'd be like a
yeah,
little
yeah,
slip,
yeah. No,
yeah,
no.
yeah, a
What,
little
what, what,
whipping.
what, what is what the house looked like? Was it one of them houses that we see now that it was all that brown wood and you had a porch and stuff like
Mhm.
that? Did you have windows and all that kind of stuff?
We had windows, we had a porch. You walk in, you probably could see from the front to the back. We had a kitchen, and we had a living room that also served as a bedroom. Wherever you sit on your sofa, and the bed was in one room. That's probably the parents' room. And then we had a couple more rooms where the children slept in. And that was about it because we didn't have any bathrooms or anything in there. We had the kitchen, it had a kitchen. So
Was you
that's what it
scared
was
to
like.
go to the outhouse? I know one lady said she
Oh,
hated
yeah.
going.
I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I never wanted to go. It just bothered me so much to have to do that. But
To
I
do
did it.
what though? To go
Go to
out
the
there?
outhouse. Hmm? Go
Why
to the
why did that
outhouse.
bother you? I mean, I can understand it because it was dark and you
And
boo
you couldn't
booing,
flush the
you know.
toilets. There were no toilets to flush. So can you imagine going to a bathroom where you never flushed the toilet? It had a big hole there, and sometimes at some point the hole would start to fill up, and it just stayed there. So can you imagine what the smell was like?
Oh
All of
yeah.
that. Yeah, all of that at the
Now I
outhouse.
had somebody say that they would put something on it to kind of kill the smell.
Yeah, you probably could pour something on to try to kind of soften the smell up. But it still was not good. I mean, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't very good. It wasn't sanitary. We really I hate to even talk about it because back in those days we didn't even have toilet paper. Now you got the little soft stuff. Back we couldn't afford to have toilet paper. No, we didn't. And it's sad to say now, but this really happened. We would take the catalog out there. You know what a catalog is?
I know.
Like a Sears catalog. You never had a
Yeah,
Sears
I got
catalog?
you now. I know what you're saying now. Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't have like toilet paper or anything like that. We may have a newspaper or something like that. So it was horrible. Put it that way, it was horrible. Okay, I hated it.
How did you play?
How did I play? We played with each
Yeah.
other. We played with each other, and we like going to school because when you're at school, you can say I'm going to the bathroom. You have running water at school. I'm going to the bathroom before I go home. So when I get home, I don't have to go to the outhouse and things like that. But we played with each other. It was like I said, we had all these sisters and brothers, so we played in the yard. Plus, we had neighbors who also lived on the plantation, and they would come and play with us. And we played with rolling tires and things like that. We played hopscotch. We played ring around the roses. We had a lot of fun in the neighborhood with the kids playing. We play ball because we make a ball. Get a piece of cloth and put some cotton in it and make us a ball. Make us a bat, and we play ball like that also.
Did
Yep,
did you were you a tomboy, or did you a girly girl where you didn't like doing that things and you would try to do your fingernails and all that?
Oh,
Was that
no. Well, no, 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 no. We didn't do fingernails back then. We didn't have any money to do fingernails. No, we didn't have those kind of luxuries to think about. We may cut our fingernails, keep them sharp and that kind of stuff
yeah.
and keep them cut. But as far as putting fingernail polish on them, that was a luxury. We didn't do that. We didn't have any
Did you
fingernail
have
polish.
shoes all the time?
Not all the time. Sometimes we didn't. And if we did, we only had one pair of shoes. And I can remember going to school with that one pair of shoes. And if you I can remember having a little opening in the toe of my shoe when I went to school. Now that wasn't the reason to go out and get new shoes. You just wore shoes that had an opening in the toe. People could see your toes through the shoe. I mean, that's the way we lived back in. I was born in the 50s. That's the way we lived in the 50s and the early 60s. We didn't have like tennis shoes and those kinds of things that we could just change. We didn't know anything about name brand or anything like that. But we were happy children, though. I mean, we were happy. We had lots to eat. We did have lots to eat because mom and dad had what they call a truck patch, which is a big, big, large garden. And so they planted the foods, the vegetables, the greens, and the peas, and the beans, and the watermelons, and things like that. And we had animals. We had animals where we had hogs and cows, and so we had milk every day. Daddy would milk the cow. So
Did
we
you ever
had
do
food
that?
like that. I never did. Now my brothers did. I didn't milk the cow. My daddy milked the cow, and my daddy had a mule and a plow. So he would plow the fields, would be behind the mule, and he would work so hard in those fields. So then I would get so upset when they say black men are lazy. I say my dad has never been lazy. He worked every day of his life, and he still didn't have anything. It's not we weren't lazy. We just worked while they rode around in their trucks. The landowner would come by in the truck and watch and make sure we were out there picking the cotton, out there plowing the cotton and doing that kind of stuff.
Did your father and mother have an education?
No, they did not. That's the amazing thing about it. Well, they did have some. I'm not going to say they have any education. My dad said he got to about the fifth grade, and my mom said she got to about the eighth grade. So, but they had that desire for us to have the education. So that's my story, really.
Yeah.
That why where that desire came from. But yeah, but my mom was really really smart. She's really a smart person, very courageous, and she knew what she wanted. She had a vision, and she was going to make sure that vision came true. So yeah,
We're gonna stay on this just a tad because this is interesting. I hope you don't mind. We're gonna get to the
I
rest
don't
of it.
mind.
Did did he face racism?
Oh, yes, I was back in the, yeah, my dad was born in 1909. And in fact, my great granddad, I've been doing my ancestry, was an enslaved person. But this is back in 1909, and Daddy talked a lot about how he had to face racism and things like, well, we could tell it some, because when the landowner would come out, blow his horn, Dad would have to go out there and talk to him, see what he wanted. And the landlord would tell him, sometimes he would tell him, your kids can't go to school today. Go back and tell your wife they can't go to school because they got to get in that field and pick the cotton. And he was telling us how when he was walking on the sidewalk, if he walked by either a white person, man or woman, he had to drop his head like that and let them pass. And then after they pass, he could go. He could go again.
Wow.
Yes,
How did that make him feel? Did he ever tell you how this
yeah,
made
he
him
didn't
feel?
feel good. He knew it wasn't right. So he was against racism. He wanted justice, just like my mom did. Yeah, he didn't like that. He didn't like, the way we were being treated. He didn't like that at all. But he said that's just the way it was, and you knew better than to do that, than to even look a white man in the eye. So when and landowner would come by, he'd have to turn his head and talk to him, and like that. And the man would
Oh,
talk to the side.
really?
Yes, that happened. My dad talked about it. I saw it happen. So yeah, we've been through a lot.
Was he ever called the N word?
Oh, yeah, they used to say that. They used to just say that word. That was a common word. They called it niggers, the niggers. They didn't really say nigger that much. They said the niggers. And I saw this nigger boy. That came up in conversation. It was on TV. I mean, I remember watching TV before they got sued about using the word nigger on TV, on the news. When the news come on, they talk about the niggers got killed here and the niggers did that. So all of that happened in my lifetime. I saw a lot of that. Yes.
You saw
Heard a
black
lot of
only,
that.
white only fountains and stuff.
Oh yes, I saw all of that. Two of my sisters went to jail for protesting in Jackson, and we said white only. Oh, I've had direct experience with the white only and the black only, where we tried to go into a restaurant, and they told us they weren't going to serve us. We had to go around to the back door, and we refused to go to the back door, so they followed us out of town. I experienced that as well, So it's
Did
not
did
something I
did,
read in a book. Hmm?
did this make? Let me see. Which way am I asked this question? Does this? Why are white people the way they are? What have you ever rationalized that why they feel this way?
Yeah, I tried to come to some because I experienced them directly, not something I read in the book, and I can talk about that later. But they're that way because you remember the landowner. My great granddad was an enslaved person. His great granddad probably was a slave master, and they still had that slave master mentality, and it's still in them till today. They inherited that; it's in their DNA. That's what they learned from their parents, and it was been passed down from generation to generation. So it's still there. The way the slave owners treated the slaves, that's the way they and the way they thought about the slave, they were less than human. That's the way they still think, some of them, even today. And particularly during the 50s and 60s, they thought that, that's a nigga over there. He's not worth anything. And we had just, it really hadn't been too long come out from under slavery at that time.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so it's in their DNA, and it's in their DNA still to the day. They've handed it down from generation to generation. They've been programmed by their elders and their elders and their elders to think the way that they think.
Did,
And
did, did, this, did this ever lead you to hate white people?
no, no, I never hated white people because my mom taught us don't hate anybody. And, she was big on that. Love everybody, love your enemies or whatever. But that's not the worst thing. That's not the worst. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
That's not the worst thing that I went through. We actually integrated to school in Drew, Mississippi also. And that's when I it came home for me as to what they were thinking, because I didn't have to guess about what they were thinking. They were letting me know every day what they thought and how they thought and what their parents thought and what their parents had told them about niggers. And they wouldn't use the N word. People now are afraid to say the word nigger because they said we're supposed to say N word. I heard that word every day for 5 years in school, sitting in the classroom with nothing but white kids. I was the only black in that class. And
Now, where
so,
was that town at compared to where you lived? How did you get to that? How did you get to that position where you was integrating in school?
well, we did it while we were still on the plantation. That's what the book is all about, civil rights. We did it while we were still on the plantation. The school district in 1964, I think, after the Civil Rights Act, the school district was mandated to either uh, integrate those schools or lose the federal dollars. So the school district that we were in, the Drew School District, sent out these papers called the Freedom of Choice paper. And they sent them to all black folks and all white folks and say, now you all can choose whatever school you all want to go to. We don't care what school you go to, sign up for which school you want. And so my mama, who had been so convinced that she was going to move her kids out of poverty and that education was the key, so she said, "Oh, okay." Well, really, it wasn't my mama. My mama had talked so much about how education is the key to get out of poverty. You need to learn. And so when those papers, the Freedom of Choice papers came out, the 7 of us that were still in school, said, "Oh, Mama, we want to go. We want to choose that school. We want to choose the all white school." And she was hesitating for a while, and then she said, "Are y'all sure y'all want to do this?" And we said, yeah, we want to do this. You always told us education was the key. Plus, you always told us that they got better schools for there. They got better labs. They got better books. They got better buses. They got better things to work with, better supplies. And I always preached that it wasn't fair the way black kids are being treated and how much money was not being put into black schools because the school board was all white. So they were putting money where their kids were going to school. So you say, they put money where their kids go to school and they're not putting any money into the black schools. So we said, okay, we're going to go over there then. But we found out when we went, well, something happened in between us signing those papers and going to the school. But we found out that no other kids were going to come. We couldn't figure out why no other black kids would come. We thought surely all the black kids would opt to go to school, same school we did.
Let
But
me stop
we
you there.
know
How did
why
you
now
get to the
because
school? How did you get to the school from where you live? The bus, or you had to walk, or what?
we when we first started the school, the first year, we rode the bus, and that was torture too. That was torture on the bus because we rode that bus, and the first few days we sit on the front seat because we were the first person that the bus driver picked up. And then about a week later, we went to sit down on the front seat, and the bus driver told me, "You niggers, y'all get up and go to the back. You know your place on this bus. Why y'all think y'all can sit at the front of the bus?" So we just got up and went to the back of the bus like he told us. It hurt. Yeah, it was 7 of us. We all went to the back of the bus and sit. And then we came home. We said, "Mama, that man made us go to the back of the bus driver." And she said, "He did what?" "No, he didn't tell y'all to go to the back of the bus." And we said, "Yes, he did." So she called somebody because by that time we had a lot of trouble before then. So by that time she knew some people, I think it was HEW at that, to Health, Education, and Welfare. And she called and said, "My kids are being put on the back of the bus." So they called the superintendent and they said, "Why are these kids being ordered to go to the back of the bus?" And so the next day, they told us that we didn't have to go to the back of the bus. But it was just as bad at the front of the bus because at the front of the bus, then they were free to throw all their chalk and throw their spitballs and throw everything up to the front of the bus to hit us on the head. So we were being hit on the head every day while we were on the bus, going to school on the bus. So we hated riding the bus. And then after a
Hold on, let me
year,
stop you there. Let me stop you there. Did you have to sit there quietly and not say nothing? Did you want to go? Did you ever have a fight with any of
no, 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 no. And that's the interesting part about it. Uh, we didn't have a fight because me And my sisters and brothers, this is the time of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he was preaching nonviolence. And we listened to Dr. King all the time. And so we said, okay, we're going to do what Dr. King says, and we're going to be nonviolent. So we never had a fight. Now, that's not to say we would never hit. We would never had orange juice thrown down our back and over our head. We never got pushed around. All of that happened. But we did what Dr. King was preaching, be nonviolent. And my mama said, you know, if you all go over there and y'all start fighting, the first thing they're gonna do is expel you from school. They're gonna expel you. They're gonna give them a reason to put you out of that school and you in that school to stay. So she said, "Back up your mind." But I really told you all before y'all started, if you start going to that school, you don't need to quit. You need to make up your mind. This is what you want to do. You to go there and quit, because if you go there and quit, it's gonna be harder on us as a family. If we go and quit rather than if we go and stay. Because if we go and stay, we'll probably get some help. But if we go and quit, then we just out there on our own. So we didn't want to
Was
get
there
expelled.
anybody to help you? Was there anybody white, like one of your fellow students or something that kind of came to your aid?
No. Everybody asked that. None of us, all of us went, in the end, it was 8 of us that went to the school in the classroom by ourselves. I mean, I was in the 7th grade, Pearl was in the 5th, but all of us in the class was just white folk. No, not in the 5th year. The 5th year was the worst year of all. No, none of them came and wanted to be a friend. None of them talked to us. None of them did anything nice for us or looked at us. They pushed their desk as far away from us as we could get. They push, and they get that desk way back behind you. And you can hear them talking about, I'm not going to sit next to that nigga, blah, 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 and all that. And the last year, we actually sued the school district, the family, sued the school district. They said that it was an intolerable burden on us taking advantage of our freedom of choice plan because the plan was a hoax. They knew that nobody would come because they were going to scare the devils out of them if they did come. And so they said, we sued, won that. Marion Wright Edelman was our lawyer. They threw out the freedom of choice, and the schools in Mississippi had to be fully integrated without a freedom of choice plan. But we endured so much outside of it before we even went to the school. We endured so much. For example, the first day after we enrolled, my mom and dad enrolled us, the landowner came out and told my dad, he honked his horn, "Matthew, I want you to come out here." And daddy went out there and he said, y'all gonna have to go out there and take those kids out of that school. And so you can get just a good education over there at the black school. So go take them out, and you go in there, you tell your wife that you're going to take the kids out of school. So he comes in the house and he goes to mama. He said, well, he sent me in here to tell you that we need to take the kids out of the school. And my mom, she got really upset. She said, what? You mean to tell me he trying to tell me what to do with my kid? When I tell you what, you go back out there and you tell that man. He don't tell me where to send my kids to school. And I would be a fool to try to tell him where to send his kids to school. My mom was very brave. And my dad said, no, Mary, I'm not going to tell him all that. I'm just going to say we're going to keep the kids in the school. So that's what we did. But after that, about 3 days later, that's when we were in the bed around 2 or 3 o'clock. And a lot of cars came. We lived out in the rural area, so it was real dark out there. And it wasn't very many houses on that road that we lived on. So mom and dad was up. Mama said she was up at 2 o'clock. I don't know what they were doing. But anyway, so all these cars coming in. And she said, what are all these cars coming down in here for? And before she could get that out of her mouth, the gunshots just came all in the house, all over our beds. And mama started screaming, you go in there, you go in there, you and get these kids and put them on the floor. Get on the floor, y'all. Somebody out there shooting. They're trying to kill us. Get on the floor. So we did that. And we slept like that for about a week. We slept on the floor every night, afraid that they were going to come back and kill us just because we wanted to go to a school. And the next night, for the next week, my dad, he would take his rifle and go up on the roof and watch over the house in case some of them tried to come back and kill us again. And then mom said after about 2 weeks, dad came down, we got back in our beds, and she said, we just gonna pray through this. We're gonna get back in our bed. Dad gonna come in and he gonna get in his bed and we're gonna pray through it. But that wasn't all they did. That brings me back to you said, what did we eat when we had this garden? Well, and I told you also that we had to go to the store to get all our food on credit. So the store that we went to get our food, dad went to pick up food, and the man said, I hear you put your kids in the all-white school. He said, yes, I did. He said, well, you can't get any food here anymore. The only way you're going to get some food from here, you got to go out there and take those kids out of that school and send them back over there to the other school. So dad comes home and says, Mama, I'm catching hell everywhere I'm going. Mary, I'm catching hell everywhere I go. And then on top of that, this big garden that we used to eat from, the peas and the beans and the greens and the watermelon, they came out. It was our garden. It was a truck patch, large. They plowed it all up and destroyed everything in the garden, trying to keep us from eating. And then I told you we had hogs and cows and all of that. They went, we had them in a pen. They went and tore the pen away from around where we were keeping the animals to try to get the animals to run off so we wouldn't have any meat or anything to eat. They did all of this just to keep us from going to a school.
Let me stop you there. Do you know who they were that did
Oh,
this? Did you ever like was one of you like Uncle Charlie or whatever his name was? Why you doing this to us, man? You know us. We good people. We even speak every now and then. Was there ever anything like that?
well, when they shot into the house, my mama went and called Amson Moore. He was a civil rights activist in Mississippi. And he called the FBI and he told them that what had happened in our house. And the FBI came out and Mama said they looked around. I can remember it also. And they got the bullets out of the wall and said, yeah, you've been shot at. But she never heard. And then the landowner came out when the FBI came out and he was looking too like, I don't know who did it. But anyway, we never heard anything else about it. They just dropped it. So it was dropped. But there was, the FBI was all white, and Mama told me she didn't trust any white man in Mississippi. Well, they were from FBI or landowner. She knew they weren't going to do anything. And so no, nothing ever happened on that investigation. We never heard anything else about who did it or what. And he didn't care. I
How
mean,
did
the
the
landowner
bullets
wasn't.
not hit anybody? They were shooting up too high, or I know God had you. Did y'all go under the floorboard, or how did? Why you
They
think nothing?
they were shooting up higher than the bed because we were in the bed sleep. So we
I
weren't
know,
walking
yeah,
around. We was in
yeah,
the bed sleep. And so they
yeah.
didn't, if we had been walking around, they might have would have hit us. But they came at 2. Maybe they didn't want to kill us. Maybe they just wanted to scare us because they knew we'd be in the bed that time of night. And so nobody really got hurt from that, from the shooting. But it just scared us. And then after that, after all that didn't stop us from going, the landowner came out and told Mama, well, you're gonna have to leave here. You can't stay in this house. This is my house. We evicting you, and you got 30 days to get out the house. So we didn't know what we were gonna do. We didn't know where we were gonna live. We didn't know what we were gonna eat. Mama said she had $40 in her name in the bank, and that was all she had. And she just didn't know what was gonna happen. And she was worried about it. But she said, I'm trusting in God. And then some people from New York or Philadelphia showed up at the house. And because of some people in town had heard about what was going on with us, and we were the only Black family in all of Sunflower County that dared to take them up on the freedom of choice plan. And they had heard about what was happening. I think Charles McLaurin, you might have heard of him. He heard about it, and he was also close with Fannie Lou Hamer. And Fannie Lou Hamer lived about 4 miles from Drew. And she notified some people that she knew to tell them what was happening to us because we just decided to go to the school. And then these people who came down from New York, they said, we're going back to New York. We're going to tell people what's happening to you all, and we're going to see if we can get y'all some help. So within the next maybe a month or so, the other people came forward, and it's the Quakers, American Friends Service Committee came forward, and they say we are working with families who are trying to integrate schools in Mississippi. And so we're helping them, so we're also going to help you all. And so that's how we got our help. When those people from New York and Philadelphia and places like that came, they started sending food and sending clothes. And Mama said, I told you the help was going to come. And so when we got evicted from the plantation, they told them that they had to give us more than 30 days to get out of that house. Somebody in Washington, somebody in some agency. You can't put them out until they find somewhere to live. So the American Friends Service helped us find a place in Drew. But he had to come into Drew, pretend like he wanted the house. So they weren't going to sell us a house. They knew we were moving the house. They never would have sold it to him. So he bought the house, and then we
He
moved
who? The
into the
white
house.
guy or whatever it
No, he was a
was?
black guy. There was a black guy. He worked for the
Yeah.
American Friends Service. His name was Alan Black. He lived in Memphis, and he worked for the American Friends Service. And they sent him in to pose as because he was gonna buy a house in a black neighborhood. posed as a minister. He came in and proposed as a Baptist minister and said he was moving to town. He was going to be a preacher. He was trying to find a house. So they sold a house to him. And then after they sold the house to him, we moved into the house. And they were just like shocked. What? They in town? What?
Well, they knew of y'all.
Oh yeah, everybody knew about the White Citizen Council, and everybody was talking about us, about this family who just integrated a school in Sunflower County. And I can't think of the man's name, whoever was over this White Citizen Council said, we got to find a way to get them out of Sunflower County, get them out of there. And they were instructed by this, I think it was a White Citizen, maybe been Ku Klux Klan, one of the organizations, that they were not supposed to tell the landowners to get them off the property, tell the grocery store, don't give them any credit. So there was a conspiracy to get us out of the school. And
let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. Let me go back just a tad. When you couldn't get no food from the grocery store, and they did your crops, how did y'all survive until the help came?
Well, Mama probably had some. Well, Mama had some canned foods that she put up every year, in the freezer and things like that, and jars. They get the canned peaches and canned beans and peas. So we kind of lived off of that until we could get somewhere to get somebody to help us. And I think that the help came pretty fast because the help actually came before we actually went to the school. During that summer between school and the beginning of the school, the help came. And they started sending food right away. And I think Fannie Lou Hamer might have been involved in helping us get some food also. You heard of Fannie Lou Hamer.
Yeah. Did you ever meet her?
Oh, yes. I met her. She came to the house quite a bit. My dad used to work with her. Right. And so she was the one who sent the people to our house to help us, to find us some help. And so we got the help that we needed to survive.
Let me back up on this one. Was work and we're gonna go back to the story. Was it worth it for you to do that?
Yes, it was worth it for me to do that.
Why?
Why? Because several reasons. Because I learned that what my mama was trying to teach us, not just that we needed to get this good education, which we did, but also that we had just as much right as anybody else to choose what school we wanted to go to. That white folks do not have cannot tell us where we ought to go to school. Because she said, we pay tax, everybody pay taxes. So how are they going to tell you got to go over here and they got to go over there and they can keep us apart? That's not justice. And my mama was a warrior for justice. And she wanted black folks to have whatever white folks had. And also, once we did that, we got a lot of help. And we got scholarships to college and that kind of thing. Whereas the school's integrated in, when I was in the 12th grade, my black friends came over. They didn't get the scholarships to college. They didn't get the opportunities that we got. People really took care of us while we were going to school. They sent us to camp so that we could have a mental break. So, they figured y'all under so much stress. So during the summer, we went off to camp, all my sisters and brothers. And we just got some relief, but we learned a lesson. And I know exactly what it means to say things are not equitable. I know exactly what that means. That's not something I have to sit around and imagine, that black folks have been treated the way we have been treated. And also it paid off on me because like I said, my classmates didn't get to go to college. I did. I have my degrees. I have a master's and all that. I have a job, and I came back to Drew later, and I saw my classmates living in the same condition that they were living in while before I left Drew,
I got
Mississippi.
where you're coming from. Let me ask you
So
this.
it paid off for me, and one of the things my mom said before she passed, I wanted to break the cycle of poverty for my family. And I did that. All of my children have graduated. All the ones that went to Drew High School have graduated from college. They have good jobs. They have good career. And now they are not living in poverty. And so it paid off. And she got to see her dream come true. So that it was worth it. Yes.
Let me ask you this. Going back just a sec. What was the difference between the white and the black school?
Well, when we got to the white school, for example, I was taking Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. Black school did not offer Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. We had a lab for that where we would put on microphones and everything, tried to learn the language. When I got to biology, we had a lab where we could dissect frogs and look at frogs and plants and all of that. The black school did not have a biology lab. I took chemistry where we studied all these chemicals, and we had a chemistry lab. The black school didn't have chemistry labs and things like that. And so just the tools and the supplies and the tools that they used was so different. You know, when I got over here to the white school, they had the brand new books. Over here at the black school, they didn't have books sometimes. If they did, they were books with pages torn out of them. You didn't even know what was in them. They were hand-me-down books that they put over there. So it was those kinds of things that was just different.
Now
Uh,
let me stop you there. I hear though, in some instance, because the black teachers was that at the schools, they had more. They taught even with less,
mhm.
and it did give a little bit of advantage knowing that you ain't got the pressure, and they're doing the best they can with what they have. Was is there something to that scenario?
There is something to that. But in my case, people ask me about that all the time. Well, you know what? How could you learn in a classroom where, everybody's picking on you and not treating you right and you're feeling depressed? How could you learn? Which was at a black school, the black teacher would have been nice to you and real
Yeah,
care for
yeah,
you and
right,
all of
right,
that and give you that nourishing that you need. All
right.
kids need nurturing. And I said, I understand that. But I also understand that it made with that time in order to get through it. Now maybe I'm different from a lot of people, but my sisters and brothers did it too. In order to get through that, what we would do, we would just study as hard as we could. I would, so I could make the best grade in that class. And so it taught me academically. It taught me to keep my head in the books. When we went to the library, nobody would talk to me in the library. So I would spend all that library period looking down at that book and learning and studying and learning because I was trying to get the best grade in the class. And I got the best grade in the class. In spite of what that teacher was saying, I made the highest score.
What
So,
his teacher was saying, oh, she messed you up. And you could have had all A's, and she tried to give you a lower grade and all that other stuff too. Sometimes.
no, that didn't happen in my case. Because they thought that, like I said, Mama said, if you keep it up, people be there to help you. They didn't do that because they were watching. They thought people was watching them. As far when we got a house and we had somewhere to come to live, they said they got somebody watching over them, and they got somebody they can call if we do these kinds of things to them. So my teacher never took a grade from me. Never took a
Okay.
grade. If
Okay.
I made an A, I got an A. And that happened with all my sisters and brothers, not just me. It was all eight
Yeah.
of us. And we made good grades. We went to school. We all got our degrees. So, it's like, and our classmates didn't. So it was something to that studying and learning that pushed me ahead and pushed me
I
ahead
got you.
further than what my mama had gone. My mama only made it to the eighth grade, and my dad the fifth grade, but all of her children got out because
I
she
got you.
stressed education and she stressed academics. That's what she
Let,
said. You there to learn and get
let me
something in
ask you
your
this.
head.
This is a deep question. How did the other black kids respond to y'all for not going there? Did y'all ever get some sellout or any of that kind of thing?
Yes. When we moved into the house that the preacher make believe preacher bought. It was probably the best house on the block. Okay, with nice home, nice wooden floors. It was a nice house. And then so the black kids start saying, well, they think they're better than us. And why are they going over to that school? Why can't they go to school with us? And blah, blah, blah. And the adults in the community was told that they weren't supposed to communicate with my mama. You're not supposed to go over to Miss Carter's house. That's what, because they were maids in these white folks' houses. And they were scared to come to my mama's house. And so we got it. My sister, Beverly, she would say, we took that all day long from those white kids. All that, what we did, what we took from them. Then we come home in the afternoon, and the black kids would say, why y'all going over there? Y'all think y'all better than us? It has nothing to do with who's better than who. But that's what they were thinking. Now the kids came around. They did that for about the first or second year, and then the third year they were in the yard playing all the time. I mean, we developed all kinds of friendships and that kind of stuff after we had been in the neighborhood. And some of the parents, some of the grown-ups started to come by and visit mom. At first, they were scared to say anything to her because when mom and dad got to Drew, Mississippi, daddy didn't have a job, mama didn't have a job. They still didn't have a job. And the mayor of the town of Drew told Dad that he would never work in the city of Drew because he applied for a job in the city of Drew. Mama couldn't get a job. And so we would get checks every month from the American Friends Service. They would send us a check every month to try to get us over the hump. So people took care of us while we did this.
Wow.
And so we wouldn't have made it if somebody else hadn't stepped up. And most of these folks were white folks. They were not black. They were white people. There were some blacks in there that did it, but a lot of them that were sending the checks were like the churches and the Quakers and all those people were sending checks to help us get over. And we didn't, like Mama, we didn't have to pay anything on the house until we were able to pay. And finally, probably about after 6 or 7 years, they wrote us and said, the house is yours. You don't have to pay anything. We're sending you the deed. So the house became ours. It paid off because we stood up and said, white folks don't tell us what to do. White folks don't tell us where to go to school. We go to school where we want to go because we're just as good as they are. And so today, I realize I'm just as good as anybody. I learned that when I was a child. Nobody's any better than me. They don't make any better grades than I do. They're not any smarter than I am. I'm just as good as anybody that lives on this earth. That's what taught me. I don't have a problem with my self-esteem. I've heard since I've been back to town, I've heard something. That's what white folks do. No, I do what I want to do. You know, it's not. We gotta stop thinking that we are a less than. I don't think I'm a
Right.
less than, and I
Let me ask
learned
you
that by
this:
going to school with them.
where is this at? It's in Mississippi. Is it near Mount Bayou? Is it
Ooh,
how? Is it close? What's the closest big city to where all this is happening?
it's about 20 minutes from Mount Bayou. It takes about 20 minutes to get to Mount Bayou. It's about 20 minutes, 25 minutes from Cleveland, Mississippi, in the Mississippi Delta. It's
Yeah.
close to Greenwood, Mississippi, not too far, in Indianola, Mississippi. Right there in the center of the Mississippi Delta is where it was. And that was the land of the wealthy white folks in the Delta at that time. And those are the people who were holding on to their way of life. And Mama explained to us that they treating you like that because they trying to preserve their way of life and you trying to make a better life for yourself. So you go out there and you make a better life for yourself. And don't blame them, don't hate them. They just trying to preserve their way of life. And so she said, you don't carry hate around with you anyway, because that's going to tear you down on the inside if you're walking around hating people. So she taught us to love in spite of hate, even though we said,
So
Mama,
then
they said,
what? So you
hmm?
alluded to this earlier. So you end up writing a book about this or something, right? There's a book or something.
There's a book called Civil Rights. It's written by Constance Curry. She worked for the American Friends Service Committee, and she and my mom put this book together. Marion Wright Edelman wrote the introduction to the book. And the stories in this book, and this book is called Civil Rights. Yeah, that's right.
And it's about what happened to y'all.
It's about what happened. Right. It's about what happened. But
Yeah.
that set me up for for what I do today. I try to
Yeah.
teach kids about the importance of their life and how wonderful they are. You know, and don't
What do you
feel
mean
like
you try to teach kids? You have you an educator yourself, or what do you do?
I operate a nonprofit organization. I started a nonprofit organization after I retired. I came back to Drew. I left Drew
Oh,
because
let me
it
stop you
local.
there. And moved where? Did you move out of the South in big
I
city or
moved. I moved to Jackson, Mississippi first, and then I moved to
okay?
Battle Creek, Michigan, which is out of the
Oh,
South in the
yeah,
North.
yeah.
And so I was working for the Kellogg Foundation, and then when I retired, I said I'm going back home. I'm going home because I've had a wonderful career. I was a controller at the Kellogg Foundation, and then I'm a certified public accountant. And then I said I'm tired of
That's
being
huge.
yeah, I am. And I said, I'm tired of being in the back office, so I want to go home. So I asked them to send me back to Mississippi as a program officer so that I can do my work in Drew, in the Delta, and I can see after the people that I left there. I don't want to leave and not ever go back to try to help. And so then I moved back to Drew, and my sisters and brothers were saying, like, what are you doing that for? Why? Why would you want to move back to Drew? Because there's still a lot of, I guess about 60% of the people still live in poverty. And then what's in Drew? Why would you want to go back there? Those are my roots. And so I said, I came back to teach the young people. I started my nonprofit and I do teach classes to the young people that are in school and talk to them about their history, where how they ended up where they are, how the past connects to the present, and how to teach them how to thrive and move themselves from A to B to become a thriving, successful individual and a thriving community. Trying to create a thriving community where I came from. So that's where I
What
am
what
now.
what is it, okay with that what you do? What? How can a person not like themselves? And I don't know if that's the right question, but listen to what I'm saying. How can a black person not like themselves, not want something for themselves, think that what is going to them is what should happen, and not try to do better.
Well, you'll be surprised if people don't have hope. Hopelessness is here. It's real. A lot of people say, well, I'm not going to vote. Nothing's going to ever change. Have you ever heard anybody say that? Nothing's going to ever change. So why should I go vote? That's the way they feel. It's hopeless. It's been this way a long time. It's going to stay this way. You've heard that also. That's what happens in
Yeah.
these communities. If they don't see anything else, that's all they know. And so my thing was, I'm going back and I'm going to get them to open their eyes and let them see something. So not only do I teach in the classroom, I take them out of the community to places they never thought they'd be able to go. For example, when I first got back, the kids kept telling, I said, y'all have to dream bigger, think bigger, and have to be love yourself, be proud of yourself. You could be whatever you want to be. And they start to say, well, this is all we know. How can we dream big when we've never seen anything but here? That's all they've seen. So I said, okay, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to take you out of the Delta and show you some other careers. Because they thought, the career is a basketball player, a football player. They don't even know about being an accountant. They don't know about being a journalist, author, none of that. They've never been taught that. And so I said, so I started taking them to Florida. And they were, why are you taking those kids to Florida? And I would take 100 kids a year, and they would go free of charge. Everybody could get in. They would have to pay a dime, because I don't believe in the ones who got money get to go. I believe the ones that don't have money get to go too. So I would take all these kids, and we go and we have classes. When we got to Florida, we had classes. We didn't just go down there to have fun. But you know how you go on a conference and you go into breakout rooms and you talk about this subject, you go another one, talk about that subject. I said, I'm going to give them that experience. So in the mornings, they went to classes and they learned about things such as etiquette and team building and have fun in the classes. Then in the afternoon, we went out and had fun and went to the parks. We went to Disney World. We went to Universal. We went to restaurants they never knew existed. They never had a menu before where they could order from a menu. So we had to teach them that. And they would say, can I get anything on this menu that I want? I said, anything that you want. There's another world out there where people are living differently than you. And so what you have to do, you have to learn, educate yourself, learn, earn, and then you get to go on vacation. Life is not about suffering all the time. Life is about learning stuff, earning, and then enjoying yourself. And so
Let
you
me
need to
stop
make
you
a
there.
life so you can enjoy yourself.
Let me stop you there. Only in this regard. So now you got these kids doing that, but then they go back home, and I've heard this story. And then I go back home and I face parents that tell me and don't encourage me.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something
I,
that you have to do to kind of counteract that too?
Yeah, my kids told me the same thing. They said, Miss Dickerson, you telling us all of this stuff, and we believe you, and you supporting us, and we getting more support from you than we are getting from our parents, because our parents are discouraging us, you encouraging us. They said, you need to start talking to our parents. I said, okay. If you all think that's the solution, I'm going to start doing adult classes. So I started doing adult classes. And they started coming to my adult class, and we talked about parenting, and we talked about possibilities, and we talked about encouraging their children. And those parents, and then also when we did the field trip, the parents went as chaperones. So the parents got to go on the trips also. And they said, oh, we've never seen anything. I never thought I'd come. Let's tell my kids. So the parents started getting involved in the community and learning about we taught them civic engagement, because they didn't know anything about what a mayor does, what a governor does, what a senator does. And they said that's why we didn't know the importance of voting, and we didn't know we should look at what their policy is going to be. We just thought who was the most popular in the community, you know. So you have to work with the parents and the child. So I work with both the parents and the kids, and we have community meetings with the parents, and continually tell them how great they are. And they come to me and they thank you and they say, my child is an RN now because of you, or my child is an accountant. Never knew what that was until she came through your program. So I've touched most of the parents in this community. Their children or their grandchildren or somebody have been touched by them. Plus, a lot of these kids have been given scholarships as well. I give scholarships too. When they get ready to go off to college, I said the ones who get the best grades in this program will get like $1,000 a year to help you with your student aid, with financial aid you're already getting. So I have given probably at least $50,000 in scholarship, and I have put money into the community too. So they've learned to trust me, and they listen to what I'm saying, and they're proud of what their kids are doing now. So that's one way you have. Now the kids get incentives too. Trips going on to these trips, they love it. But it's incentive to get them to study and to learn and then to earn. Study, learn, earn money. Your money
I
don't
gotta
come
ask you
unless
this question right now. Are you an angel?
I've been called that. I've been called that. You are an angel in the community. I've been called about it by some of the parents. Mhm. But I do it because I love children, and I do it because I had such a hard time getting educated as a child. When I was 12, I was being harassed trying to be educated. And I know how important it is to learn. And I know how far it's taken me to learn, and be academically inclined. And so I teach it to the kids, but I also let the kids know, life is not all about learning and working. It's also about having some fun with life. And the more you learn and earn, the more fun you can have out of life. And so that's what I try to teach them. And I teach that to the parents as well. And
Have you
that's
gotten any awards,
oh,
recognitions, and stuff like that? Let's brag on you.
oh yeah, I've gotten several awards. I have. I got them from what kind of award I got? I got a Goldman Sachs award from Goldman Sachs, 1 million Black women initiative that they had going. I got an award from Robert Wood Johnson for the community, cultural health community, from the school district, local awards too, from the school district, from the city of Drew, from the Children's Defense Fund. I got a wall full of plaques and stuff, a wall full
Okay,
of them.
yeah.
Yeah, and I've
Is
been written up in the paper. Been written
yeah,
up in the paper.
sure, sure.
Been on CBS National News
Oh,
for
really?
the work that I do
Yeah,
also. So,
yeah.
but I'm proud of the work that I do because I feel like it's my purpose. And my mama once said before she died that everybody has a purpose in life, and so you need to figure out what your purpose is and go do that. And then she said, and fighting for justice is a lifelong job. So I said, okay, I got to keep doing it and doing it and doing it
Let me ask you
until.
this: has a white person who mistreated you, classmate or otherwise, came up to you and apologized?
No, no, no. I've had a couple to come up to me and say, "Oh, you were the smartest one in the classroom. You were so smart." I said, "What?" I'm saying to myself, "You didn't say it when I was there. You tell me how dumb I was, how stupid I was." But they have come and say, "You were the smartest one in the class." And I've had one to ask me, "Can we go out to lunch and talk?" And I haven't gone out to lunch with that person. And then since I've been back in Drew, some of my classmates are still here, and so I talk to them. One of them is on the board of the hospital that I'm also a county supervisor. That's one of the things they asked me to do when I got back. The community said, "Why don't you run for office? Why don't you run for mayor?" I said, "No, I don't want to run for mayor." And then they said, "Well, why don't you run for supervisor?" So I ran for a county supervisor. Some people call it county commissioner. And I won. So I get to appoint people to certain positions. And I have appointed one of my classmates to a position on the board. Yes. And so he talks to me. When I moved into the neighborhood, he came over and brought me some tomatoes and onions and said, "Welcome to the neighborhood." But never come out and said about what happened to you. No, they haven't said
Let
that.
me ask you this: this is a two-part question, but it's the same question. Did you ever cry as a kid from what was happening to you? And have you since then, now that you're an adult, have you cried?
Yes. I cried and in the book in the introduction to the book to talk about I had nightmares about that school. Even after I finished that school, even after I was out of school, I was graduated from high school, I was still having these nightmares. And I wake up sobbing and crying about what happened. And I cried some when I was in school, but it really hit me afterwards. And that's what my sisters also say. We never really let our feelings out until after it happened, after we had come through it. And then we thought back on it and the tears would just start to roll down. So yes, the crying has been part of it. The healing has been part of it. I still live with it from day to day. I mean,
Oh, do
that's
you?
what drives me. Hmm.
Do you? Well,
Yeah.
okay. Now that you got big, beautiful house and car and everything, have you cried now?
I haven't cried in a while. No, I haven't. I haven't cried in a while. I'm happy. I'm joyful. I'm having a good time. I'm proud of my accomplishment. I'm glad what I went through because my sister and I said somebody had to fight that battle. We just couldn't sit here and not do anything where white folks try to rule everything, try to be in control of everything, and try to tell us as Black people what we need to do and where we need to go to school. We need to have a choice. And I'm not against HBCUs, but because I think everybody should choose whatever school they want to go to. If you want to go to Tougaloo or you want to go to Jackson State, then that's where you go. But it's a choice. You don't have to go there. You can go to the University of Mississippi, which we all went to. 7 of us went to the University of Mississippi, and all 7 of us graduated from the University of Mississippi after we finished that school. One of my brothers did not want to go to Ole Miss because he said, I'm tired of these white folks. I want to go to a, HBCU. But he had a scholarship to go to Ole Miss, so that's why we all ended up there. We got scholarships to go. So yeah, no, I'm proud of what we did. I really am, because we were the pioneers. We broke down barriers for other people. And that's also why I came back to Drew, because I said, we went through all of this. I come back to Drew and things are not good. So evidently what we did didn't work out the way, because we weren't only doing it for ourselves, we were doing it for all people. And I came back to Drew and I saw the conditions that the people are still living in. I said, no, I got to do something. I got to go back and I got to help, because this is not over. These kids are still not educated. I came back and the kids started telling me about they didn't have any books, they didn't have any homework, they couldn't go to the restrooms because they were filthy, and they had to go home, use the restroom, come back to school, miss out of class because they didn't have any toilet tissue in the bathroom, didn't have any running water in the bathroom. I said, no, these conditions are, and that's the school that I went to. I'm like, when I went to this school was a super school. And now look at all Black, and it's just a disaster. And I said, I got to go back. The work is not
Wow,
over. The work is not over. And so that's why I'm back, to try to finish the work.
man. Um, uh, Shucks. Let me see. Did
The work is not over. You still got to fight for justice. And we have to fight for justice. And
let me
somebody
ask
has
you
to
this:
do it.
did your mom see? What did your mom see? She see you graduate from high school? Did she
My
see you
mom,
graduate from college? Stuff like that.
she saw all of us graduate from high school, all of us graduated from college, and she saw all of us got our jobs and had a career. She saw all of that. And she said, I broke that cycle. No more poverty in this family. And she then only had an 8th grade education, and my dad only had a 5th grade education. Now, a lot of people who do all of that, their parents either were educators, or their parents was ministers, or their parents had, at least finished the 12th grade. My mom and dad didn't do either one, but she said, in spite of that, I know I can break the cycle of poverty, even though I'm not educated. But my mom was real smart. We actually, we actually taught her. She knew how to read some, but we taught her how to be a good reader, because she had to write letters when we were going through this. The American Friends Service requested that she write a letter every week and tell them what was going on. So she would sit down and start writing letters, and Mom would just start saying, how do you spell the words? So she was trying to write these letters, but she didn't really know how to spell all the words that she wanted to put in the letter. And so she would ask us to help her write these
She
letters.
wasn't
And she would do
embarrassed
it.
by that.
No, she wasn't embarrassed by it. No, she let everybody know she didn't have an education. She let everybody know she was poor, living in poverty, and she had let everybody know she didn't want her children to live like that. So no, she wasn't embarrassed by it at all. And when I talk about my mom and dad, I'm not embarrassed that they didn't have an education. I know why. Because of the oppression of Black people. Like I said, my great granddaddy was an enslaved person. And they came up living on a plantation, on a farm, couldn't go to school. And she talked about how she didn't get a chance to go to school. She wanted to go to school, but she couldn't get to go to school. Back in those days, my older sisters and brothers, they went to the school in the one-room shack before they came over to a school. So we've been through a lot. And to be able to overcome all of that and let people know that you can do it if you put your mind to it. You don't have to live the way you're living. You can overcome your obstacles. And I tell my kids, I know you think your conditions are poor right now, your parents can't afford it. My parents couldn't afford it either. But whenever you try to make up your mind and you determine, and there's a will, there is a way, somebody's going to come and help you get this done. If you want it, you can get it. Somebody may have to come to help you, and I'm here to help you if I can help you. So that's why I do the scholarships and that kind of thing, and help the kids while they go to college to make sure they can
Uh,
stay there.
as we come to a close, how can people who watch this help you? What's your website? Do you have a dinner that I? Because I want to come and hug you and everything else. I ain't gonna lie to you. I like touching angels, so
Well,
and I was just in Mount Bayou. I'm coming back.
you
So
can come back,
where
come
are
over to
you?
Drew.
How do people help you?
Well, the name of my nonprofit is We Together, but you spell it with a W-E and the number two, G-E-T-H-E-R. WeTogether.org is the website. WeTogether.org. The name of the organization is We Together Creating Change, because I want it to be about change. But if you go out there and Google or whatever, We Together Creating Change or WeTogether.org, my website will come up. There's a donate button there. And just donate to WeTogether.org. W-E number two, G-E-T-H-E-R, all one word, .org. Click on that. Visit my webpage, because we do a lot more than what
Yeah,
we talked
yeah,
about today. We
yeah,
do a lot more than what I had a chance to talk to you about. And pick some that you want to support and just donate.
yeah.
Donate to the
What about this one?
organization.
When y'all take the kids to Florida, like I do public speaking, and I'm sure there's others, can we come down there and help you with a seminar class or something like that?
Well, that's what we were doing. We did invite when I went to Florida. Now we went to Florida for 8 years, and now we started doing other field trips. But we would invite in speakers, right? We invited a motivational speakers to come talk to them. We'd fly them in like from California, wherever they are, all over the country, to come and head up a seminar. Because we didn't, that's what we did. We had workshops
Okay.
where we have guests to come in and speak to the kids. Now our training is mostly around African American history, and so we go to places like Selma, Montgomery, Birmingham. We also go to Washington, D.C., and take them so they can learn about their history. And we have classes on Saturdays where we invite guests in to come speak to the kids. They come on Saturday, like from 9 to 3, for about 12 Saturdays. And we invite people to come in and speak to them and talk about history or talk to them about being a motivational speaker, those kinds of things. We do that now, currently. So we
Right.
need money to do all of
I'm
that.
with it. I'm all in it. I'm all with it.
Yeah, we'd like to
Um,
bring in other people from, to come in and speak to them also. Hmm.
as we come to a close, I asked this of everybody. Is there a question that I have not asked you? Something you want to share? Anything in particular?
No, just that it does take a lot of money. And what I want to share is when I first came back, I had a big problem trying to get this work done. So I had to invest a lot of my own money into it. But now that I have some gains and I have some experience and I have some impacts, it helps to get money from other people. So the last I worked for 6 years voluntarily, free, no pay, for 6 years to start this organization and put in my own money to the tune about, I'm almost embarrassed to say, $500,000. But now I don't have to do that anymore, because now I do get donations to keep the work going. So, it would be very helpful for people just to donate to the organization.
Okay.
And, people ask me about replicating this in other communities. I
Right.
said that would be great if I had the capacity and the money, but right now you don't have it. It does cost some money to do it, and so
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah. But the kids
All right.
appreciate it and they love it, and it changes their lives. They say for the
I'm sure.
better.
I'm sure.
In the
Well, hey,
Mississippi
I
Delta.
thank you so very much for coming on the show. You made me cry. I had to. I mean,
I'm
I cried a
sorry.
few times. Yeah, you made me cry.
I'm
And
sorry I
I
made you
thank my
cry.
man Herman for letting me know about you. You an
Mhm.
angel.
I love the kids. I
I mean,
really do.
I mean, what else could it be?
It's
You got
love
a
and
halo
passion.
over your head. You got the wings and everything in the middle of the night. God, that God protected y'all from them bullets.
Right. God protected us and God made a way. We didn't have anything to eat, but now I eat anything I want any time of the day. And I tell my kids that I eat whenever I get ready. And that's what
Mm,
I wanted to do. I used to tell my mama, when I come home from, why don't I have an apple on the table when I come home, like Leave It to Beaver does? I want to eat too. She said, get your education, you'll be able to eat whenever you get ready. And I said, Mama told the truth. Get my education, I eat whenever I get ready, whatever I want to eat. And that's enough satisfaction for me. If you're in a
yeah.
place to live.
Okay. One more question I got to ask. In the town that you're in, is there a festival or something that people can come to that
Hmm.
they can see the community and where we all can gather and so on and so
Hmm.
forth?
Yes, we just did that. What, October 25th? We just had our annual Drew Day Festival. We have a Drew Day Festival every year in October. around the high school kids homecoming game. So we call it homecoming day for the people who have left. They come back to Drew. This year we
Okay.
had about 1,000 people there, and but
Okay.
it has been growing. But it's a 1 day thing. It's we all get
Okay.
together. We have blues festivals. We have vendors. It's just a day where people get together every year,
Oh, I
once a
love
day.
it. I love it.
Drew Day festivals, and my organization helped lead that up too.
Yeah, I love it. If you come to your town, where do you, you come from around America, where do you fly to? The biggest
Either
airport?
Memphis or Jackson. Memphis or Jackson.
Okay.
Now, when
All
you
right.
come to
Yeah.
Mount Bow, I guess you would fly into Memphis.
Yeah,
I
flying to
guess
Memphis. Yeah, that's what I
Memphis,
did when I got there.
Memphis, flying to Memphis, and there's a smaller airport in Greenville, Mississippi, too. That
Yeah.
you may be flying to, but the bigger airport is in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, hey, I thank you so very much. And everybody, come on, you got to hit that like button because there is no love button. If you
Thank
felt it
you.
like I did, I know you felt it. And then
Okay.
subscribe to Strong Inspiration because I'm God filled with somehow I get to meet people like this. I'm a better person. Go to
Thank
her
you for
website and donate some money. I'm sure the $5 add up,
$5
whatever,
add up.
to keep to
$10,
keep that,
$5.
yep, to keep that movement alive, that ministry alive. And do that, everybody. All that will be in the description. Go to my website, everyone. Keep me going. Order a book. That's how I make a living. Please do that. And I'm gonna send you a book. And I'm coming down there. I want to speak and all that. That'd be my blessings for sure. And to you, my sister, I mean this with all sincerity. I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. I love who you become.
Thank you.
Your mom and dad showed you a way, and you were smart enough to take heed to it. You said that no matter what these kids doing, I'm gonna study even harder and get better grades than them. And
That's
one
right.
or two of them knew that. One or two of them probably wanted to be more nicer and just couldn't because of the climate. You probably changed some of their lives seeing you, especially now, because they know who you are. And the
That's
people
right.
in that community know who you are. They know what they did, so on and so forth. And it's just a beautiful thing. I thank you so very much for coming on Strong Inspirations.
Thank you for
Thank
inviting me.
you. All
All
right.
right. Bye bye.